Greetings. Slowly people are becoming aware, but maybe reticent to name it. We are in the throes of World War III. However, this may not be the deeper side of what's going on. I would like to talk today about the rise of the Fourth Empire. It may not be something that we would like to consider, and it certainly is not something we thought would return so quickly. Over the last few thousand years, the first, second and third empires all emerged in the name of certain causes. The first empire was the Roman Empire, which possibly was created to give one person all the power throughout the known world. 1,000 years later, Charlemagne tried to create the second empire in the name of Christianity, or as I would like to call it, in the name of churchianity. 100 years ago, the beginnings of the Third Empire began in the name of socialism. Today, we see very many similar hallmarks of what caused these empires to emerge. It isn't necessarily what appears on the surface as trying to impose a particular philosophy or lifestyle or set of laws upon a world by domination. There are far more subtle things at work here. We see the hallmarks of a particular ism trying to be the face of more sinister machinations in the background. They are the financiers. They are the people who meet in smaller circles trying to manipulate the ideology, small senates or groups of economists or bankers, financiers at bigger circles who run the banks, who run the stock markets, people who run bigger companies, people who run the armaments companies and make a lot of money by creating wars so that more war machinery can be sold. And even at global levels, where we have massive organizations trying to be the face of looking after nations and world health and being an illusion in many ways. And what is it that is really at stake here? Is it really an imposition of Islamism on the world? This Fourth Empire is not about a religious ideology. Certainly, there are religious ideologies and extremists within the face. That is the illusion that we are all becoming accusative towards certain isms, Islamism or Christianitism or whatever. However, what really is going on here is that the real driving force is economism. The first empire was personalism. The second empire was a religionism in the name of Christianity. The third empire was in the name of socialism. However, this one is driven by economism. The small circles of people behind the facades of terrorists, behind the facades of extremists, behind the facades of banks, behind the facades of stock exchange, behind the facades of all the things that we are fighting about, which is the correct influence here. They are all correct. They are all designed to mislead us. In the sense of George Orwell's 1984, it is the doublespeak. It is the wars that don't exist. It is the misinformation that causes the population to be confused about what is really going on. And this is the real agenda. When we are confused about what is going on, when we are arguing bitterly about whether this or that faction, this or that religion, this or that person, this or that whatever is the real cause of what's going on, we fall asleep. And this is the real agenda of the world empires, to cause the people of the world not to know what to do, to feel lamed, to feel disempowered, and ultimately to fall asleep in our everyday lives. One of the great interviews that was given recently by an American politician, when asked, aren't there many Islamic people who want peace as well, answered and said, yes, there are many people in all walks of life, in all industries that want peace. However, in the history of war, it is not the 80% of the people who want peace who count. I found that rather alarming, that the ones who want peace don't count. It is the 15 to 20% of the people who are the extremists, who are the face, whether they be the face, the illusion, the driving forces, the creators of distraction. Anyone who sits within the extremism of economism are the people who make this third, fourth empire appear on the earth. And it is time, this time, in the fourth empire, which has come around far more quickly than the 1,000-year gap in the past. It has only been 100 years, and yet we are in the throes of it again. It is time for the 80% to count, to wake up. We have passed through the 2012 transition, all the ascension talk that we've heard about in the last 3 years now begins to pay off. We need to be able not to fall asleep in the face of these various things that are designed to confuse us, to mislead us, to create dissension amongst ourselves, and ultimately to put us asleep. Yes, the 15% of humanity is nearly 1 billion people. That leaves another 6 billion people who in some opinions don't count. And yet we must count. We must stand up and begin what we know to be the solution. As Albert Einstein said, the solution to any problem is not solved by the same kind of thinking that caused the problem. War is not the answer to war. It is driven by the economism of a few people who sit in small circles in the background, manipulating, just as of old, our money, finding ways to tax us, finding ways to gather money, selling weapons for huge amounts of money so that more weapons may be built, and creating this imposition on our freedom. Yes, science is also one of the illusions. The misuse of science, in fact, is one of the illusions. Laws are passed to enforce people to have no social security if they don't vaccinate their children. All sorts of misuse of human rights to determine their own lives is part of the illusion that we need to stand up. We need to find homegrown circles of light within our communities where we can forge ways to feel more independent within this thing. We do not need to change the system. If we assent to that, it is the same as if the whole earth can die. We only get into a new system when we die in this body and reincarnate and come back in another body. If we were to try and destroy the system, to destroy the earth, then we would have to accept that the illness of this fourth empire has become so strong that our whole body is destroyed. It is better to take the principles of healing, where we insert a medicine within a body or an organism to heal it. The 80% of the human beings are the medicine. We can, within our systems, think differently, act differently, and create a grassroots, local change for the whole world. This is part of what we want to do as a changing process within the world. If I look at myself, I have to also accept that I am part of the problem. This message does not come from a high and mighty place. I have to accept that 20% of myself also too is driven by the precepts of the fourth world order. That is part of why it has so much power within me. That is why it has so much power over me. That is why it has so much power over and within the world. No mother would like her husband or her son to be murdered. No father wants his wife or partner or daughter to be violated or entrapped or enslaved. Just as the sun does not want to become darkness within the world in its death, just as the earth does not want to be plundered and violated, so too is our human nature, that of nurturing and caring. But there is a part in me which I have to look at. All self-realization, all self-reflection can only work if there is an agreement to self-development. Deep democracy only works if there is a commitment to deep personal growth. So within ourselves, we can also look at the fact that there must be between 15% and 20% of myself that is prepared to create illusions, prepared to assent that lie becomes lie, is prepared to destroy things, to assert ourselves. And it is only in this self-reflection, in this looking at ourselves and finding ever more clearly those bits within ourselves that need to be changed and brought into alignment with the 80% that wants to work in the sense of love and compassion and gentleness and kindness and love in the world. It is a very slow process, a very painful process to accept, to look at ourselves and to begin the process of reducing the 15% in myself which assents and is complicit in the fourth world order, and slowly reduce it to 1%. We will continue to make decisions out of that part of ourselves that is still not in alignment with love. But as we can see, when we begin to change ourselves, the world begins to change. So let us unite in helping each other to look towards that part of ourselves which is still in non-alignment with the love of the world, with the outflowing of the light of the sun, and with the nurturing of the earth. In this way, we can make a major noetic impact upon the earth and all the creatures who live upon it, and create a better place for the personalities, for the philosophies, for the socialistic and the economic betterment of all the things that have taken their bad forms in the four world orders in the last 2,000 years.